The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the neon glow of the city's skyline as Claire Donovan strode through the glass doors of Horizon Innovations, her biotech firm that stood on the cusp of revolutionizing medical technology. At 44, Claire carried the weight of her success with a polished grace. Her auburn hair swept into a low bun, her tailored emerald blazer accentuating her sharp intellect and quiet authority. Her employees nodded respectfully as she passed, their whispers trailing her like a soft breeze admiration for the woman who'd built a company from a dorm room, dream into a beacon of hope for patients worldwide. Tonight, though, her focus was razor-sharp. The final presentation for a groundbreaking medical device, a portable dialysis machine that could save millions, was hours away from being submitted for a critical patent. Her office, a sleek sanctuary of glass and steel on the 30th floor, buzzed with the low hum of her team finalizing data. Claire's assistant, Maya, handed her a tablet with the latest projections, but her words were clipped. "Ms. Donovan, there's an urgent email. You need to see it now." Claire's hazel eyes flicked to the screen, and her breath caught. The email, from an anonymous sender, contained no text, only a series of photos. Her 16-year-old daughter, Lily, laughing at a coffee shop with friends, walking through the school courtyard, and most chillingly reading in her bedroom at home. Claire's hands trembled as she scrolled, her heart pounding with a mother's primal fear. The final image was a typed message: abandon the patent, or she pays the price. The room spun, the weight of her empire suddenly meaningless against the threat to her only child. She called the police, who arrived within the hour, their questions clinical but urgent. "This is sophisticated surveillance," the lead detective said, his brow furrowed. "We'll investigate, but you should consider private security for Lily immediately." Claire's mind raced. Her divorce 3 years prior had left her fiercely independent, but also isolated, her life consumed by Horizon's relentless demands. Lily, with her mother's sharp cheekbones and a cascade of dark curls, had grown distant, her teenage rebellion a silent accusation of Claire's absence. The thought of someone targeting her daughter, exploiting that vulnerability, was unbearable. Through her network, Claire secured a meeting with a private security consultant the next morning. Expecting a brash, overconfident ex-cop, she was surprised when Nathan Harper walked in. At 40, he was unassuming, his charcoal suit modest, his dark hair flecked with early gray, a faint scar tracing his jawline. His gray eyes, steady and piercing, scanned the room with a quiet vigilance that belied his plain resume military service. A decade in private security, no flashy accolades. Yet something about him, his measured words, the way he seemed to see through her polished exterior, put Claire at ease. "Why should I trust you with my daughter's safety?" she asked, her voice firm but laced with desperation. Nathan leaned forward, his gaze unflinching. "Because I see what others overlook, Miss Donovan, and because I know what's at stake when someone's life depends on you." His sincerity, devoid of bravado, convinced her. He started immediately, moving into a small apartment above their garage, his presence a silent shield. Lily, however, was furious, her green eyes flashing as she stormed into the kitchen that evening. "A babysitter? Really, Mom? I'm not a kid, and I don't need some stranger following me." Claire's patience frayed, her fear manifesting as sharpness. "This isn't up for debate, Lily. Someone's watching you, and I won't take chances." The argument ended with Lily slamming her bedroom door, leaving Claire alone with her guilt. She hadn't told Lily the full truth. How could she explain the photos, the violation of their home? As she sat in her study, staring at the email, still open on her laptop, a memory flickered, unbidden. 22 years ago, Claire Thompson, a 20-year-old nursing student, had worked late shifts at a rundown Seattle diner, scraping together tuition money. One rainy night, she'd seen a teenage boy outside, shivering in a thin jacket, his pride warring with hunger. She'd used her tips to buy him a grilled cheese sandwich, coffee, and a slice of cherry pie, leaving it beside him without a word. She'd walked away, never knowing his name, never seeing him again. What Claire didn't know was that Nathan, standing watch outside her home now, was that boy. The memory of her kindness had been his lifeline, the spark that led him to enlist, to survive, to become the man who now protected her daughter. As Claire closed her laptop, unaware of the connection, Nathan stood in the rain, his eyes scanning the darkened street, his mission clear: to repay a debt she didn't even remember, and to keep her family safe at any cost. 22 years ago, the Seattle rain fell in relentless sheets, soaking through Claire Thompson's worn sneakers as she hurried through her shift at Rosie's Diner, a greasy spoon tucked between a laundromat and a pawn shop. At 20, she was a nursing student by day, a waitress by night, her life a blur of textbooks, coffee stains, and aching feet. Her auburn hair, pulled into a messy ponytail, stuck to her neck as she scrubbed at the counter, the neon open sign casting a pink glow across her tired face. Tuition bills loomed, her scholarship only covering half, and every dollar from tips went into a jar labeled future. That night, as she glanced out the fogged-up window, she saw him, a teenage boy, no older than 17, huddled in the alley across the street. His thin jacket was no match for the cold, his shoulders hunched against the wind, his dark hair plastered to his forehead. Their eyes met for a fleeting moment, his gray gaze sharp with defiance but softened by hunger. Claire's heart twisted. She knew that look, the pride that refused pity. When her shift ended at 1 a.m., she counted her tips, $32.17. Enough for a used textbook if she skipped groceries. But something stopped her. She ordered a grilled cheese sandwich, a cup of coffee, and a slice of cherry pie. The diner's best, paying out of her own pocket. Outside, she approached the boy cautiously, setting the to-go bag on the wet pavement beside him. "It's cold out here," she said softly, her breath visible in the chilly air. "Eat something warm." She turned and walked into the rain, not waiting for a response, not seeing the way his trembling hands reached for the food, or how his eyes followed her until she vanished around the corner. That boy was Nathan Harper, and that moment of unasked-for kindness became the anchor he clung to through years of hardship. The next day, he enlisted in the Army, determined to build a life beyond the streets, carrying the memory of Claire's quiet compassion like a talisman. In the present, Nathan stood in the shadows of Claire Donovan's sprawling Seattle home, his trained eyes scanning the perimeter as the same relentless rain fell. Now 40, he was no longer that starving kid, but a man forged by war. His special forces training hidden beneath a carefully crafted facade of an ordinary security consultant. When Claire's firm, Horizon Innovations, had posted a discreet request for protection through his network, Nathan recognized her name instantly. The memories flooded back, the warmth of that sandwich, the dignity in her gesture. Through his old military contacts, he'd learned of the sophisticated threat against her, tied to her company's revolutionary dialysis device. Someone wanted her patent derailed, and they were willing to target her daughter, Lily, to do it. Nathan had taken the job without hesitation, not just to protect Lily, but to repay a debt etched into his soul. Claire, unaware of their shared past, saw only a reserved professional, his minimal words and steady presence a stark contrast to the chaos of her life. Her days were consumed by Horizon's looming patent deadline, her nights haunted by the anonymous photos of Lily, the weight of being a single mother and a CEO pressed on her. The divorce 3 years ago having fractured her bond with Lily, her daughter's rebellion skipping classes. Sharp retorts felt like a personal failure, a reminder of all she hadn't balanced. Nathan, stationed in the apartment above the garage, observed this silently, his reports to Claire brief and clinical. no security incidents. But he saw more: the way Lily's defiance masked loneliness, the way Claire's polished exterior hid exhaustion. He began his own investigation, using encrypted channels from his Delta Force days to trace the threats. The trail led to Veritas Solutions, a rival biotech firm led by Victor Langston, a charismatic but ruthless CEO whose company had a history of unethical experiments. Nathan installed advanced cameras and motion sensors around Claire's home, his movements precise, his vigilance unrelenting. Lily, meanwhile, tested his patience, slipping away from him at the mall, blasting music to drown out his presence. Yet Nathan remained unflappable, his calm a steady anchor. One evening, as Claire worked late in her study, she glimpsed Nathan outside, checking the security feeds on his tablet, rain dripping from his jacket. The image stirred something, a fleeting memory of a boy in the rain, but she dismissed it, her mind too consumed by fear for Lily and the pressure of the patent. Nathan, watching her silhouette through the window, felt the weight of his secret. He hadn't told her who he was, not because he doubted her, but because the truth might complicate his mission. Protecting Lily meant staying invisible, underestimated. Shadow who saw everything. As he stood there, the rain washing over him, he remembered the taste of that cherry pie, the first warm food he'd had in weeks, and the woman who'd given it without expecting anything in return. That act had changed his life, and now he would change hers by keeping her daughter safe, no matter the cost. Lily Donovan's defiance was a storm brewing beneath her carefully curated exterior, her dark curls bouncing as she stormed out of the house, her school backpack slung over one shoulder, her green eyes flashing with resentment. At 16, she was a mirror of her mother Claire's sharp features, but softened by youth and hardened by a quiet anger at the world her mother's success had built. Horizon Innovations, Claire's biotech empire, was a towering presence in their Seattle home, its demands stealing her mother's attention and leaving Lily feeling like an afterthought. The addition of Nathan Harper, the stoic security consultant now shadowing her every move, was the final insult to babysitter she neither wanted nor believed she needed. "I'm not a prisoner, Mom," she'd snapped that morning, slamming her cereal bowl on the counter when Claire insisted Nathan drive her to school. Claire, her auburn hair pulled tight, her face etched with exhaustion, had barely looked up from her laptop. "It's for your safety, Lily." End of discussion. The words stung, not because they were harsh, but because they were automatic, another sign of her mother's absence. Nathan, standing silently by the door, his charcoal suit blending into the background, said nothing, but his gray eyes followed Lily with a patience that irritated her further. She spent the day plotting ways to shake him slipping out the school's side exit, lingering at a coffee shop with friends, anything to prove she didn't need his protection. Yet Nathan was always there, a step behind, his calm presence unshaken by her antics. At home, Claire was drowning in the demands of Horizon's upcoming patent submission, the portable dialysis device that could save millions now under threat from an unseen enemy. The anonymous photos of Lily still haunted her, each one a reminder of her vulnerability as a mother. She worked late, her study lit by the cold glow of her computer, unaware that Nathan was conducting his own investigation. Using encrypted contacts from his Delta Force days, he traced the threats to Veritas Solutions, a rival firm led by Victor Langston, whose polished charm masked a history of corporate espionage. Nathan's findings were chilling. Veritas was funding illegal experiments, and their surveillance of Lily suggested a willingness to cross ethical lines to derail Horizon's patent. He installed additional security measures, motion sensors, encrypted cameras, a panic button in Lily's room without alarming Claire, knowing her fear would cloud her judgment. His daily reports remained brief. Perimeter secure. No incidents. But his silence hid a deeper understanding of the family's fracture. He saw Lily's rebellion as a cry for attention, Her pranks, hiding his keys, blasting music to drown him out as tests of his resolve. One afternoon, as he drove her home from school, Lily pushed harder, sneaking her phone to text friends about ditching him at the mall. Nathan, catching the reflection of her screen in the rearview mirror, spoke evenly. If you're planning to slip away, the mall's east exit is a bad choice. Too many blind spots. Lily froze, her defiance faltering under his perceptiveness. You don't know me, she muttered, but her tone lacked conviction. Nathan's response was simple. I know you're smarter than you're acting right now. The words, delivered without judgment, lingered, planting a seed of reluctant respect. Claire, meanwhile, struggled to bridge the gap with her daughter. The divorce 3 years ago had left her pouring everything into Horizon, believing her success would secure Lily's future. But Lily's skipped classes and sharp retorts told a different story. One evening, Claire tried to talk, sitting across from Lily at the kitchen table. I know things have been hard since your dad left, she began, her voice soft. Lily's eyes stayed on her phone. You don't get it, Mom. You're never here. Horizon's your kid, not me. The truth cut deep, and Claire's instinct was to defend herself, but Nathan's presence in the doorway stopped her. His silent nod, barely perceptible, urged her to listen. She tried again, reaching for Lily's hand, but her daughter pulled away, retreating to her room. Later, alone in her study, Claire's gaze fell on a framed photo of Lily at 10, beaming at a science fair, Claire's arm around her. The memory felt like a lifetime ago, before the divorce, before Horizon consumed her. She didn't notice Nathan outside, checking the security feeds, his own memories stirring of a rainy night 22 years ago when Claire's kindness gave him hope. He hadn't told her who he was, not yet, but every glance at her strengthened his resolve to protect her family, to repay the debt that had shaped his life. As the rain fell harder, Nathan's tablet pinged with an alert. A new email to Claire. Another anonymous threat, this time with a photo of Lily at volleyball practice. That afternoon, his jaw tightened. The net was closing. He adjusted the security protocols, knowing the danger was escalating, and wondered how long he could keep his past hidden while guarding the woman who changed his future. The Seattle sky was a bruised gray, mirroring the tension that coiled tighter in Claire Donovan's home as the threats against her daughter, Lily, grew bolder. Claire, her auburn hair fraying from sleepless nights, stood in her office at Horizon Innovations, her fingers tracing the edge of a tablet displaying the latest anonymous email, a grainy photo of Lily laughing with friends at a downtown cafe. Time-stamped yesterday, with the words, "Last chance to walk away." Her heart pounded. The weight of her biotech empire's impending patent submission, now a distant concern compared to the fear for her 16-year-old daughter. The police investigation had yielded little, their assurances hollow against the sophistication of the surveillance. Nathan Harper, the reserved security consultant guarding Lily, had become Claire's anchor. His steady gray eyes and minimal words, a stark contrast to the chaos threatening her world. But his calm exterior hid a storm of his own. Using his Delta Force contacts, Nathan had confirmed the threats stemmed from Veritas Solutions, led by Victor Langston, a CEO whose ambition was matched only by his ruthlessness. Veritas was after Horizon's portable dialysis device patent, and they were willing to play dirty. Nathan's nights were spent analyzing encrypted data, tracing shell companies linked to Veritas's illegal experiments, but he kept Claire in the dark, knowing her fear would cloud her focus. That morning, as Claire prepared for a critical board meeting, her driver reported her car wouldn't start. Nathan, anticipating sabotage, had already checked it, discovering tampered brake lines. His quick intervention replacing the car with one from his secure network averted disaster, but Claire's frustration boiled over when he revealed the sabotage. "How did you know?" she demanded, her hazel eyes narrowing. Nathan's response was measured, his scar-flecked jaw tight. Patterns I've seen before. Military-grade tactics. His partial truth, omitting his special forces past, left Claire uneasy, her trust in him wavering. She needed answers, not secrets. Meanwhile, Lily's rebellion reached a fever pitch. Furious at Nathan's constant presence, she saw him as a symbol of her mother's control. At school, she devised a plan to ditch him, convincing a friend to cover for her at a concert downtown. That evening, as Claire worked late, Lily slipped out, her dark curls hidden under a hoodie as she blended into the crowd at the venue. Nathan, anticipating her move, tracked her phone signal, his training making her escape predictable. He found her in a dimly lit alley behind the concert hall, cornered by two men whose casual demeanor didn't mask their predatory intent. In seconds, Nathan was there, his movements a blur of precision, disarming one with a swift strike to the wrist, pinning the other against the wall with controlled force. Lily, frozen, saw not the quiet bodyguard but a warrior, his gray eyes sharp with focus, his scar standing out in the neon light. "Get to the car," he ordered, his voice low but commanding. She obeyed, her defiance shattered by fear. In the car, her voice trembled as she broke the silence. "How did you do that?" "That wasn't normal." Nathan's reply was vague. "Training. You're safe now. That's what matters." But Lily pressed, her green eyes searching his face. "You're not just some security guy, are you?" A faint smile tugged at his lips, the first she'd seen. "Focus on staying out of alleys, okay?" The exchange shifted something in Lily, her resentment giving way to curiosity about the man who'd saved her. Claire, informed of the incident, was furious, her fear erupting as she confronted Lily at home. "Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" she shouted, her hands shaking. Lily's retort was sharp. "Maybe if you cared enough to notice me, I wouldn't need to run." The words hit like a slap, echoing Claire's own guilt. Nathan, standing by, interjected quietly. "She's safe, Miss Donovan. Let's focus on that." His calm cut through the tension, but Claire turned on him, her voice icy. "You're supposed to keep her safe, not let her slip away." Nathan's gaze didn't waver. "She's testing boundaries because she feels invisible. Security starts with understanding why she's running." His words, delivered with quiet authority, stunned Claire into silence. They lingered, forcing her to face the truth. Her absence had driven Lily's rebellion. That night, unable to sleep, Claire dug into Nathan's background. His resume was clean: military service, private security, but sparse, with gaps that raised red flags. A quick search revealed his security firm was only 2 years old, with no trace of earlier work. Her suspicion grew. Who was this man she'd entrusted with her daughter's life? She confronted him in the garage apartment, her voice low to avoid. "Waking Lily, your resume doesn't add up, Mr. Harper. What are you hiding?" Nathan's expression remained neutral, but his eyes held a flicker of something: regret, perhaps. "I'm here to protect your daughter. That's all you need to know." His evasion frustrated her, but his effectiveness was undeniable. As she turned to leave, Nathan added softly, "You're doing your best, Miss Donovan. Lily sees it, even if she doesn't say it." The words, unexpected, stirred a memory of a rainy night long ago, a boy in an alley, but Claire pushed it aside. Nathan watched her go, his secret heavier than ever: the sandwich, the coffee, the cherry pie that had given him hope 22 years ago. The threat was closing in, and he knew he couldn't stay invisible much longer. The Seattle night was thick with tension as Claire Donovan sat in her dimly lit study, the glow of her laptop casting shadows across her face, her auburn hair loose for the first time in days. The latest anonymous thread, a video of Lily walking home from school, oblivious to the camera, tracking her every step, had arrived hours ago, and Claire's heart hadn't stopped racing. Horizon Innovations was days away from securing the patent for its portable dialysis device. But the cost of her ambition was clear. Her daughter was a target, and the enemy, Veritas Solutions, was closing in. Victor Langston, Veritas's CEO, had made his move that afternoon, his polished voice dripping with menace during a video call. "Withdraw your patent bid, Claire," he'd said, his silver hair gleaming under fluorescent lights, his smile cold. "Transfer the technology to Veritas, and your troubles end. Think of Lily." The implied threat sent a chill through her, but Claire's resolve hardened. She wouldn't bow to blackmail. Nathan Harper, her enigmatic security consultant, had been a silent force in the background, his gray eyes scanning for dangers she couldn't see. But his secrecy, the gaps in his resume, gnawed at her trust. She needed answers, and she needed them now. Nathan, stationed in the garage apartment, was piecing together the final threads of his investigation. His Delta Force contacts had uncovered a chilling truth. Langston had funded a failed Black Ops mission years ago, one that left Nathan's squad dead in a desert ambush. The connection wasn't coincidence, Langston's escalation suggested. He knew Nathan was involved, a ghost from his past come to haunt him. Nathan's focus was absolute, his military training overriding personal feelings. But the memory of Claire's kindness 22 years ago, a grilled cheese sandwich, coffee, cherry pie burned brighter as the danger grew. He hadn't told her who he was, but the weight of that secret was cracking his carefully built walls. The crisis peaked when Lily was kidnapped from a school charity event, despite Nathan's precautions. She'd been performing in a theater production, her dark curls bouncing under stage lights, when Veritas's operatives, disguised as maintenance workers, slipped her out a back exit. A chilling message arrived within the hour. Claire had 24 hours to surrender the patent, or Lily would pay. Claire's world shattered, her fear for Lily drowning out everything else. She was ready to give Langston everything, but Nathan stopped her, his voice steady but urgent. "We get her back, Ms. Donovan. No deals." He activated his old Delta Force network, and within hours, his former commanding officer Jackson arrived. With a small team and specialized gear, satellite imagery pointed to Veritas's research facility outside Seattle, a fortress disguised as a renewable energy lab. Nathan devised an extraction plan, but Claire insisted on joining, her voice fierce. "She's my daughter. I'm not staying behind." Nathan, recognizing her determination, agreed, assigning her a limited role. Her corporate credentials could bypass the facility's outer security. As they prepared, Claire confronted the possibility of failure, her vulnerability surfacing in a quiet moment. "If this goes wrong, Nathan, I need you to know I'm grateful for everything." Her hazel eyes met his, and for the first time, Nathan let his guard slip, the unspoken bond between them palpable. At dusk, the team infiltrated the facility, Claire's quick thinking getting them past the first checkpoint by posing as an executive for an unscheduled audit. Inside, they located Lily in a secure room, sedated but unharmed, her wrists bound. As they moved to extract her, Langston appeared, flanked by armed guards, his charm replaced by cold calculation. "You're persistent, Miss Donovan," he sneered, then turned to Nathan. "And you, Captain Harper, the survivor of Operation Sandstorm, my one loose end." The revelation hit Claire like a shockwave. Nathan wasn't just a bodyguard. He was a Special Forces veteran, tied to Langston's past. Langston's smug confession followed. The failed mission had been a test for Veritas's surveillance tech, funded through his shell companies, with Nathan's team as collateral damage. "Your men died for progress," Langston said, his eyes gleaming. Nathan's rage was controlled, his voice low. "They died because you played games with lives." The standoff escalated as Langston activated a prototype sonic weapon, its disorienting pulse designed to incapacitate. Nathan, reacting on instinct, shoved Claire behind cover, taking the brunt of the blast. Pain seared through him, but he stayed upright, his training overriding agony. In the chaos, Lily, stirring awake, triggered a fire alarm, the blaring sound, disrupting Langston's focus. Nathan disarmed him, while Claire, using self-defense moves she'd learned years ago, took down a guard with a precise strike. As they secured Lily and fled, Langston drew a concealed pistol, aiming at Claire. Nathan threw himself in front, the gunshot echoing as he collapsed, blood pooling from his shoulder. Claire's scream was raw as she dropped beside him, her hands shaking as she pressed against the wound. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice breaking. Nathan's eyes, clouded with pain, found hers. "Grilled cheese, coffee, cherry pie," he murmured, his voice faint. "Rosie's diner. You saved me first." Claire's breath caught, the pieces falling into place, the boy in the alley, the meal she'd left without a word. "That was you?" she whispered, tears mixing with the blood on her hands. Nathan nodded weakly. "Changed my life. Worth it." As sirens wailed, his words tethered them to a moment 22 years ago, a simple act of kindness now binding them in life and death. The Seattle dawn broke gently over Claire Donovan's home, casting a soft golden light across the terrace where Lily sat sketching, her dark curls falling over her notebook as she captured the outline of the distant mountains. 3 months had passed since the harrowing night at Veritas Solutions facility, where Nathan Harper had taken a bullet to save Claire, his whispered confession tying their lives back to a rainy night 22 years ago. The evidence recovered during Lily's rescue, Langston's recorded confession, intercepted communications, and files exposing Veritas's illegal experiments had unraveled Victor Langston's empire. Federal charges piled up: corporate espionage, kidnapping, and complicity in the deaths of Nathan's squad in a long-buried Black Ops mission. Veritas Solutions faced dismantling, its assets frozen under government oversight, while Horizon Innovations secured the patent for its portable dialysis device, cementing Claire's legacy as a pioneer in biotech. But the victory felt hollow, without the personal healing that followed. Nathan, recovering in a private hospital to avoid Langston's remaining eyes, bore a permanent scar on his shoulder, the bullet's damage limiting his mobility but not his resolve. Claire had insisted on overseeing his care, her hands steady as she changed his bandages in those early days, her hazel eyes searching his face for the boy she'd fed at Rosie's diner. The revelation of their shared past had shifted something profound in her, a recognition that a single act of kindness, a grilled cheese sandwich and cherry pie, had rippled through decades to bring him back as her protector. Lily, too, had changed, her teenage rebellion replaced by a quiet maturity forged in the terror of her abduction and the awe of Nathan's sacrifice. She saw her mother differently now, not as the distant CEO, but as a woman who'd once scraped by giving what little she had to a stranger. At home, the dynamic between Claire, Lily, and Nathan evolved into something deeper than employer and employee. Claire offered Nathan a role leading Horizon's new security division, a position tailored to his expertise in protecting critical infrastructure. But the offer was more than professional. It was a plea for him to stay, to be part of their lives. "You don't need to give me a job to keep me here," Nathan said one evening, his gray eyes softening as they sat on the terrace, the city's lights twinkling below. Claire's professional facade slipped, her voice low. "Maybe I'm not ready to let you go." The admission hung between them, heavy with unspoken feelings. Nathan, who'd spent years guarding his heart after the losses of his military past, felt the walls he'd built begin to crumble. Their conversations, once clipped and tactical, turned personal, filled with shared stories of struggle and resilience. Claire spoke of her nursing school days, the exhaustion of balancing shifts and studies, the divorce that had left her afraid to fail as a mother. Nathan shared fragments of his life after that diner night enlisting, the brotherhood of his Delta Force team, the betrayal of the ambush that killed his squad. Langston thought he could bury it, he said, his voice tight. But you can't erase the truth. Claire reached for his hand, her touch grounding him. You brought it to light. For them, for us. Lily, watching from the kitchen window, saw the shift in her mother, the warmth she hadn't seen since before the divorce. Inspired by Nathan's courage and her mother's hidden past, Lily started a school initiative to support homeless youth, channeling her energy into something constructive. The program, funded by Horizon's Outreach On, offered mentorship and resources, and Lily's pitch to the school board delivered with a confidence Claire hadn't known she possessed earned unanimous approval. It's starting next semester, Lily told Nathan one afternoon, joining him on the terrace. We'll have job training, meals, even a scholarship fund. Nathan's rare smile appeared, his scarred jaw softening. Proud of you, kid. You're building something real. Lily hesitated, then added, You help me see Mom differently. Like she's human, not just Horizon. Her words, simple but raw, carried the weight of their healed bond. That evening, as Claire prepared dinner, a rare act of domesticity, Lily joined her, chopping vegetables with a newfound ease. Nathan sat at the counter, his presence no longer that of a bodyguard, but of family. The laughter that filled the kitchen, Lily teasing Claire about her uneven knife skills. Claire's playful retort was a sound Claire hadn't heard in years. Later, as twilight settled, Claire found Nathan outside, his eyes on the horizon. You're staying, aren't you? She asked, her voice soft but hopeful. Nathan turned, his gaze steady. Some debts don't need repaying, Claire. They just become part of who you are. The use of her first name, a shift from his formal Ms. Donovan, marked a new chapter. As they joined Lily for dinner, their hands brushed under the table, a quiet promise of something more. The final scene unfolded in the garden, where Nathan taught Lily basic self-defense, his movements careful but precise despite his injury. Claire watched from her study window, the weight of her past mistakes lifting. A single act of kindness sandwich, coffee, pie had woven their lives together, transforming a driven CEO, a rebellious teenager, and a battle-scarred soldier into a family bound by courage and love.